I think we're here.
We're live.
Yay, we're live. So welcome back. It's Friday night yet again. So we are doing book chats with mostly books. I suppose we should do our normal, please leave comments. We love to hear back from you guys, but we will not respond to them until afterwards since it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
Here hanging out again.
And you are?
I am Jody. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm Jen.
And tonight we are talking about The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi.
Roshani Chokshi.
Ah, thank you.
You
I
practiced
tried.
so hard.
I really practiced. Roshani Chokshi.
Chokshi.
Chokshi. Gonna get it someday. We'll keep
You're
trying.
doing good for effort. You're doing good.
Which was a YA fantasy heist novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jen would love to tell us more about the synopsis.
So, Séverin runs a hotel in Paris, and he was supposed to inherit a patriarch's ring, but he didn't. So he started all the heists to reclaim his family's artifacts, and to do that he put together a team of our main cast who all get something out of the heists, and all geared towards Séverin becoming a patriarch again, because then that's really gonna set them up.
Yeah.
So they steal a compass that's supposed to lead them supposedly to some treasure. But they kind of get caught, and then that creates problems for them they have to solve those problems.
Yeah, that was a good synopsis.
I've read
That
this
was
book
really
twice.
good.
I just need to read a book twice before I can give a good synopsis of it, apparently.
Okay, next week, make sure that happens. No, I'm kidding.
Well.
It will actually be twice.
Actually,
She's going to have a great one next week, too.
there's pressure.
Right. Okay, well, let's first start with, what'd you think of the book? Did you like it?
Oh, I really liked it. Yes, even on the second reread, I had just as much fun with it. But now I could look for things and hints for the future, the rest of the series. But yeah, I enjoyed it just as much.
The second time?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. See, it's got good reread value.
Yes.
That's important sometimes.
Yeah.
I liked it too. It totally hit all the things you want in a heist book.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in a fantasy world, which was even more fun. I loved that they had all sorts of fun gizmos. I'm going to go with gizmos.
Yeah, magical items.
Yeah, because I mean, you normally have them in contemporary heists as well, only these were just more magically inclined, which was still fun. Instead of technologically inclined, I guess. Okay. So I was going to say that I love all the characters, but I feel like we're going to talk about all the characters anyway, so maybe we should just dive into the characters?
Yeah.
Do we want to start there?
Yeah. I also want to say this is set in Paris in the 1880s.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very French. It's all very French.
Very French. It's right after Napoleon.
Yeah.
Which was it was interesting because that part was sort of important because, it's leading up to this revolution, which didn't that actually...
Well, it's 1889, so it's quite a bit after Napoleon.
Mm-hmm. And was that when the revolution actually happened? I was thinking
100 years before, because the storming of the Bastille, 1789.
There wasn't, yeah, I know that one, but was there not another one in the 1800s?
Well, Napoleonic Wars ended in 1815. That was Waterloo.
Mm-hmm. But was there one still later? I'm really forcing you to know your French history.
Maybe because most countries in Europe had some sort of revolt in 1848. So France might have too.
Okay, I'm going to also really put you on the spot here because I thought Les Mis the whole time and I cannot remember. And I meant to look it up before we started tonight. When Les Mis
I've never read
dates
or seen
are.
Les Mis.
Oh. Okay, well,
I know
never
a lot
mind
about
then.
it, but I never read it or watched it.
Because it was totally that with the wordings, with the revolution, the brotherhood, it's all that.
Yeah.
Les Mis's, which this has as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a fun digression. Thank you. So the history is great, and I apologize. We should have read up on our French history a little bit more because I think it was pretty maybe accurate for that time. I don't know. We need to look into that.
Yeah. I know the author, she had done her historical research and she found some kind of deeply unsettling things about the World Exposition or the Exposition Universelle.
And it was a world fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
The Human Zoo. So,
yeah.
A lot of research went into this.
Yeah, and I liked that part, even though it was, like I said, in a still fantasy setting, which was fun.
It's interesting because it deals with real world issues in a fantasy novel, but not in a secondary world.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I liked that part about it. And it had some very interesting commentaries on the times and class structures.
I loved
and yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, set in France, in Paris specifically, mid to late 1800s. I feel like that's the setting. Do you want to talk about characters now?
Yeah, let's do characters.
Okay, well, do you want to start with our main Severon?
Yeah. I was gonna start with like our cast is all very diverse. So like multiple races, sexualities. There's an autistic character too, and she's wonderful.
I love Sofia.
I do too. I love the Phoenix. Severon is our main guy. He's like our like front man of our heist, I guess.
He's the mastermind.
Yeah. And he's biracial. I don't remember the exact.
Armenian, right?
Yeah, maybe.
They said either that or Egyptian and French.
Yeah, one of his parents is French, and then like it's Algerian.
Oh, is it that?
I think it is, because I think it says something about like his North African like ancestry doesn't show up in his features so much.
Right, because they were one person was like he was either Egyptian or this.
Yeah,
and I can't remember.
He like passes
for French.
Yeah. But anyway, so the order is like, well, we don't want another heir who's not entirely white because imperialism and racism are terrible. So that's why Severon thinks he doesn't get the Patriarch's ring.
Well, and you should also note that was because one of the other house patriarchs is also...
I thought we were going to get there when we talked about him.
Okay. But that felt very relevant to what you just said, because that plays in. But we can get to that later.
Should we talk about him now?
Okay, let's talk about him now. So the other one that is a patriarch is Hypnos. And he is Haitian and French. Well, white French, I guess. I'm not... Do you just say French? I mean... Because I think the point of it is that he was a white French.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like he's upper class, like French nobility. Like his father is a French nobleman. Yeah. So...
But they are supposedly not wanting two houses.
Yeah.
To be not the type of person they would deem
they're
appropriate.
Very in their like blood purity, but a specific kind of
very specific kind, which is we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Love Hypnos.
I do too. He's wonderful.
Me too. And he just needs friends. Anyway, we can come back. I'll let you go through all the casts and then we'll talk about him.
Then we have Layla, who is Indian, and she's come to France on her own journey to find a book related to her backstory. I don't know if you want me to get into all that right now.
Not yet.
Okay. So she's looking for a book, and her search has led her to France, and that's how she met Severon. And they have a thing.
Oh, yeah, they have a thing.
They have a thing, but they're like, okay, it happened once, it can never happen again. And they're still like...
we need to finish our personal missions.
Yeah, but
this is going to be a problem.
It is completely a problem. They're still very much smitten with each other, and everyone knows it, and it just treats it like a fact, except for them.
Except for them. Yes. Okay. So that's Layla.
And then Enrique is Filipino and Spanish, and he's our historian, so he's like our major nerd in this group of nerds.
I don't know, there's a couple rival nerds.
Yeah, but
like
he's
major
like,
nerds for that.
He's always reading, and he has a book, and he's trying to get into this like group of Filipino visionaries who are trying to like write and throw off Spanish rule back home. But
they don't, because he also passed more as a Spaniard than Filipino. There we go. So that's a whole issue for him.
Yeah. And then, because he's like, I don't look right. Yeah. And there's a lot of biracial inks in this book.
There's a lot of biracial inks in this book. Yep.
But anyway, so he's also it's like a very funny character.
I love it. I love them all. And I love Enrique, but I'm gonna say that with every single one you mention.
Yeah, they're all very lovable. Okay, and so then Zofia is Polish? She's not Russian.
She's I think she's probably Polish.
Is she Polish?
And Jewish.
Yeah.
Because that's a thing for her issues as well.
Yeah, because she has to, like, disguise herself as, like, a Russian.
I was never really clear on what her
It mentions it in the
is.
beginning. I just don't remember.
We will note that in the comments because that's terrible. It's not Russian.
No, because that's a whole thing later. She is Jewish, and she's also, like, on the autistic spectrum. And she's, like, their, like, fabricator. She makes all their gadgets, basically, or most of their
She's a little
gadgets.
pyro a little bit, too.
Yeah, they call her the Phoenix, because she's often, like, she's, like, striking matches on her teeth, or, like,
when in
covered
doubt,
in ash.
set it on fire.
Yeah. So she has this, like, forging capability, which we'll have to talk about, too. And then Tristan.
Yes.
He's our last one.
I think he's the last one. Yep.
Tristan is, like, Severon's, like, little brother. They aren't blood related, but they had the same foster father at one point, and that, like, knit them very close together.
Did they have the same foster fathers all the way? I was unclear on that.
Oh, I think they
felt
did.
Like
it
they
started
had,
with Wrath.
Yeah,
and then,
all 7. Okay.
Yeah. And he can also forge things, but he does things with plants.
He's our botanist.
Yeah, and he has a pet tarantula named Goliath, much to the discomfort of everyone else.
Yeah, they are not fans of Goliath.
No. But yeah.
And he seems like a larger than just a tarantula. Like,
Yeah.
he seems... Goliath is an appropriate name.
Like, Enrique says he's, like, the size of a cat at some point.
Yes, at one point I think that was mentioned, because I was like, oh, man.
I'm like, that's either, like, a very big spider or a very small cat.
Yep, I agree.
So yeah,
that's everyone,
That's
right?
our main cast.
Yeah, and they're all so delightful in the way they interact with each other. You know, they all have such great relationships. I love Sofia and Enrique. I love that she doesn't get humor and jokes quite like the rest of the group, and it's quite funny to watch Enrique feel that all out, I guess.
But it's also, like, at one point, like, Hypnos makes a joke, and she's like, I don't really like jokes.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Hypnos is great.
He is, yeah.
You know, he may be the one who caught them initially and caused them to go in search of... Are we going... How far? Well, we won't go into with the artifacts yet. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So he may have caused all of this, but he just wanted a group of friends.
He just wanted friends.
And how they just don't see that immediately, I don't know. Because they were all very kind of like, I don't know about you.
Yeah, and, like, he and Severon were, like, playmates as kids. So they were, like, raised together, raised in the same way until Severon had his... the inheritance test. And then when the Order, like... tossed him out, Severon kind of turned his back on all of them too.
Yeah, I mean, he blames Hypnos for doing it, but I think it was just as equally him. And you know, they have so many things in common, and they have so many of the same issues that it makes sense to be buds.
Yeah.
And you need an ally in this group. I mean, you really do. And not in, like, the group of the heist, but in
this world.
In this world of patriarchs and matriarchs and houses. Yeah, you need an ally.
Yeah, because France had 4 houses, but one fell and got named the Fallen House.
Because we don't remember what it was called.
We don't know their name. And then one of them died out, so Severon's house died out and doesn't have an heir. So
because he didn't pass the test.
Because we'll get back to that. And so there's just 2 left. There's Nyx, which is Hypnos' house, and Core, which is the other house, has matriarch of House Core.
What is her name?
Does she get a name?
Did she ever get a name aside from the matriarch? She might have in the very beginning. And it's okay. We don't have to look for it right now, but I was just thinking, I don't remember her name.
I think we might get it, like, once, like, maybe someone calls her by her name, but I'm not
I don't remember either. Yeah. So the houses are the ones that control the forging, which is the magical element of the book.
Yeah.
I've been trying to think about how to talk about this magical element to make sense.
So it's like there's, like, matter forging and mind forging, or mind affinities and matter affinities. So if you're a matter affinity, like Tristan's is plants, so he, like, does stuff with plants and can, like, put magic into things.
And Sofia's must be somewhat fire related because she
matter.
Ignites things a lot. Yeah,
she's particularly good with metal.
Yeah, but when you say matter, didn't you say that also was for the botany one? I mean, it's matter and mind, so yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's
I guess,
different types of matter affinities.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of mind ones.
And, like, House Nyx collects objects with mind affinities on them. So one of them's like a helmet that gives you nightmares, but it plays on your own fears. So those are kind of like the mind affinities that those are
horrible.
That's real bad.
Yep. And core is house core. It must be a matter element as well, but they know they're collecting all the Egyptian artifacts.
I think they were. It was something like in their history, like when Napoleon went to Egypt, that there was a bunch of house core there. So that's
that's why they were collecting the
Egyptian artifacts.
Mm-hmm. They did say that.
Yeah,
but we don't know anything specific otherwise about their forging affinities, right?
They like plants.
Right, because they have a very nice garden. And then Tristan comes and works in their garden.
So core is aspect of Persephone. So, and then their emblems is like house, like vines and flowers and stuff. I have thoughts on all the 4 houses, but we'll get there.
Okay, so we've talked about the cast. We've talked about the houses. So we've set this kind of all up. Do you want to talk about the Babel Fragments?
Yeah. So that's like... So there's a lot of biblical stuff in here, too.
It's a weird meshing of biblical Christianity and, like, Greek mythology.
Yeah, like, and Latin. There's a lot of Latin in here,
It's very an interesting mesh.
Yeah. I enjoyed this very much.
And Egyptian stuff. I mean, it's just it's all over. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so the Babel Fragments are literally fragments of the Tower of Babel from the Bible, and they got spread over the world, and then... where there was a Babel fragment, so civilizations popped up. The civilizations, like where they say the Babel fragments are, kind of correspond to rivers. Yes. Like there's one in Mesopotamia, there's one in China, and like South America. So it's like wherever there's like the big rivers and then civilizations spread up, there's a Babel fragment. It's kind of a tangent. But there's the fragments. And they give you the power of forging, and then there are the Patriarch's rings, which have like a little bit of a little bit of the Babel fragment in them. And then that's how forging...
That's how their houses get to do that.
Yeah, and they can, like, mark things, and it gives them powers. But then there's also, like, bigger fragments that get buried.
Yes. That are leading... I mean, I don't know how far we want to go into that right now.
Yeah.
But there are larger fragments out there. Let's maybe just say that.
And that the rings are, like, protecting their location.
Yes.
Because if you steal one, your like civilization dies, and that's kind of how the West got theirs. They stole it, which we're not surprised.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the other thing, and that's kind of like really what we're in search of at this point. Like, because we've been discovered with Hypno, so he sends us off to find. Do we want to talk about the horse? I mean, should we just say spoilers? I'm not sure how we can talk about these things right now.
Yeah.
Spoilers from here.
Yeah.
Unless you want to wait before we go, maybe spoilery. Do you want to talk about the writing?
Oh yeah, we can talk about the writing. So not spoilers yet.
Taking it back.
Psych. Okay.
I liked the writing. I liked that we had different point of views, and I liked that we have most of the cast except Tristan, and we only get Hypnos once.
Yes.
But I really like that. And I like that in doing such, it wasn't like we're seeing, in Death Prefers Blondes, which I still really liked, the heist, the author, really took you on every aspect from every perspective. And I liked in this one where we still got multiple perspectives, we didn't necessarily get all of that.
Yeah, we didn't like double anything.
Yeah. But it was fun to be in everyone's, like, hear what they're thinking and to mesh that all together with their crew.
Yeah, I feel like we're following the timeline along, and we're like, oh, we're going to follow these guys for this part, and then at the end of their segment, they'll see, like, someone else coming through a door, and then we jump to that character's point of view.
Or it'll even be maybe, like, a few hours later or something. So it never really felt like there needed to be a gap filled, but it didn't. I don't. That was my only thing quibble with Death Prefers Blondes. I sometimes felt like that was too much. Yeah. I didn't need the double perspective.
But yeah, I did like the writing. It's very lush and descriptive, and like descriptions of like how the magical forged items work, of their clothes, of
I love
like action sequences are really fun.
Yeah, her description of the clothing was fabulous.
Yeah, and it's a world you can like sink into really easily.
You can, but it's easy to picture too, and you can, it's fantasy, but at the same time, because it's so set into this time period of the 1800s, like, it's easy to envision this, and their outfits and everything. You can easily walk into this book and just really enjoy it.
Yeah. So writing's good, multiple points of view, and it has like little interludes of like nonfiction texts in the world about forging, which were really cool.
And they were all relatively older, too. So you're kind of getting almost the foundation for like the Babel Fragments and where we are in time with like the warring houses and everything, I guess. I don't know how to really explain it, but it's telling the history basically of where we are to this point.
And I remember this like really helped like the first time I read it, because I was like, I didn't really understand what the forging was doing. But those segments, I'm like, okay, so forging does this. So those help, I think, because it just like it like lays it out for you without your characters having to take the time to be like, oh, this is how this works, when they already know these things.
And it helped break it up into the parts of the books too. I think there's 6 parts of the books, maybe, and so that was nice that you got that, and then you got the next section.
Yep.
Okay, now spoilers.
Spoilers
for real.
So many spoilers. Oh my goodness.
Okay, what do you want to spoil first?
The Horus Eye. They're looking for a Horus Eye, because that's what Hypnos wants them to find, and the Horus Eye supposedly can like reveal Babel Fragments. They go through a few different theories, and they're like, wait, what do you mean you want this? Like, they want it because they're like, oh, we'll find it and then we'll use this information
to blackmail, more or less.
Yeah, to like leverage and blackmail the Order, because they deserve it.
You know, why did Hypnos he wanted to protect it so nobody else could build another tower. Was that what it was? Like, he wanted to, because his dad told him his ring needed to not, what was that? I thought, wasn't he the one who thought the Horus Eye puts the fragment to sleep? Yeah, and that he also, he thought it was, he did know that. Yeah. But he also thought his ring was supposed to do something, but it was actually the opposite. He thought his ring was supposed to like,
awaken the fragment or something?
No, because that's what it did. Yeah. But he thought it was going to like put it to sleep as well, I think. Maybe. And he was like, oh, that's not it at all.
Yeah, because his dad leaves him like this very cryptic letter of like, find the Horus Eye, and that's basically it.
I mean, he was dying.
The dead aren't great with details.
They're really not.
But yeah, he's like, I need to find this thing because my dad said so. And they're like, well, why? And he's like, I don't know.
That's a need to know, and none of us need to know. So they start that off.
And he's in on it. And so then they go on this heist, and they do find the Horus Eye. Mm-hmm. But then they also find the terrible creature. Are we talking about that, or are you going to talk about Tristan? Oh, I was going to do Tristan first. Like the greenhouse scene.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. We can talk about Tristan getting captured. So that was all bad. Like, okay, so they released the toxins, and they've opened the door to go into the underground library entrance through the greenhouse. Yeah. Tristan stays watch, but then he is taken.
Yes. So turns out Tristan had also betrayed them to our like bad guy but he's not our big bad. He's like a minor boss battle before the big boss.
See, I always kind of felt like, did he really all out betray them, or was he tortured into betraying?
I think he was just, he betrayed them in the sense that he snitched, but I don't think he was doing it in like a malicious way.
Yeah, I never really felt like he meant for what to happen. It always felt like it was forced to happen. Yeah. But I wasn't sure. So I could be wrong.
Yeah, so Bruiser Bear is this guy in a mustard suit.
That's like apropos later.
And he's kind of like watching them, and we'll tell you who he is later. But he basically like pressures Tristan into revealing.
See, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like Tristan betrays them, but it's not.
But did he have the helmet on when he betrays them? Because I always kind of felt like the helmet was already on, and he's like.
It is when he sees him, but I don't think he had it the whole time. I thought Bruiser Bear got to Tristan much earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how.
I didn't take that, but I may have been totally wrong. So I will totally go into that.
It could be either. It's like he could have gotten to him just in that moment or later, but Tristan's really worried about all of them. Mm-hmm. Well, because Tristan's always saying to Severon, like, we need to not do this. Like, this is bad.
Well, yeah, he was very hesitant. And it felt like he didn't really trust Hypnos, but I don't think... Because then later at the end of the book, he was like, oh, I should have listened to you. And I was like, but Hypnos was fine. Hypnos was great. Yeah. So I was kind of confused on that part, too.
Because this was also, like, a particularly deadly heist. Like, if they got caught, because they're breaking into the matriarch's house, they would have been killed probably.
Oh, I think that's, yes, absolutely.
So Tristan was like, this is very dangerous, we shouldn't do this, like, we don't need to do this. But Severon, there was like, the reward was too great, so Severon's like, we're gonna do it.
Well, and I think to Tristan's point, he was like, is it that great? You already have this hotel, you already are doing fine, do you really have to become the patriarch again?
Yeah.
And I also kind of wondered if Tristan felt like he would be left behind.
Yeah.
And so that was why he was so like, do we have to do this?
But it's like, I didn't blame Severon for that. I'm like, this is his life, or this was taken from him. Of course he's going to want it back.
And it's his one thing that he's like held on to through his entire childhood. You know, like, I kind of get it too in that sense.
So I'm like, you should be allowed to have this, and it was wrong that it was taken from you.
Yeah. So needless to say, at any rate, at some point Tristan squeals, either by torture or just because.
Yeah.
And then they stumble upon him, slouched in this chair with this terrible helmet,
the
doing
Phobos helmet.
The terrible nightmares. I mean, that sounded just terrible. And are basically given a 3-day to turn in Hypnos.
Yeah. So Bruiser Bear takes this horse eye that they work so hard to get.
That creature was crazy. The creature
Ammit?
the Ammit,
Ammit,
that was released. Half lion, half hippo.
Crocodile. It's because it's the thing that eats hearts in like the Book of the Dead.
Yeah, it was.
That's why I had a feather.
Bananas. Okay.
But yeah, so that whole thing. Severon thinks Layla dies in that whole.
She was close.
Oh my gosh. That's like one of those moments where it's like the whole world shrinks to it's just them.
Yeah.
Oh,
it totally did. Yeah.
Anyway, so they get out of that barely, and they get up the stairs, and we're like, "Cool, let's get Tristan, and we're home free." And they have to turn over the horse eye, and Tristan gets kidnapped, and Bruiser Bear is like, "Yeah, you have 3 days to bring me Hypnos' ring, or
this is the end of Tristan."
This is the end of Tristan. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Well, we don't have a choice now."
There was no choice for Severon in that. I mean, this was his little brother he was sworn to protect. Mm-hmm. He was not going to not do that. But he also wasn't going to turn over Hypnos, which was great.
Yeah. So they make a new plan, and they figure out who Bruiser Bear is and who he's working for. So now we need to talk about the Fallen House. Yeah.
Okay. Before we do that, did you have any predictions on the Fallen House? Did you have like, it's gonna be, I don't know, whatever you did you have any thoughts on it? I didn't. I'm just asking if you were.
I had there's a theory that I had when I was reading it, that I thought the Fallen House, like their iconography or whatever, would be chthonic, if I'm using this word correctly, because all the other houses have chthonic imagery. Mm-hmm. There's like the whole bee thing, the Fallen.
Right.
There's so many ways to talk about this.
Well, initially, what I was just thinking when I first started hearing about the Fallen House, halfway through, I kind of was like, do we think one of the crew is going to be the leader of the Fallen House? So I was already kind of toying with that. I had no idea what it was going to be otherwise. Like, I had no preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if you did.
I thought Tristan was the heir of the Fallen House.
I started leaning towards Severon, maybe halfway through, just because his whole like failure of the inheritance was sort of weird and such.
Well, I bought it for the same reason that he did, that it had just been covered up. Mm-hmm. But like Tristan has the same. So the inheritance says you get a weird scar on your palm, and they test your blood, and it
turns blue. You're the inheritance.
Yeah. Anyway, so Tristan has the same scar that Severon has, but Tristan has no memory of it. And the Fallen House, when the house fell, all the members that didn't choose death got this mind wipe. So, like, if Tristan was very young...
Mm-hmm. I forgot he had the scar.
Yeah.
I wonder where he belongs then.
I think he's the heir of House Vanth.
That would make sense. And you think then that...
Severon is the heir of the Fallen House.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because we get... Should I talk about the last chapter then?
Yeah, I think we can come back to the B part.
Okay. So the matriarch of House Kor shows up at Hypnos' house, Erebus, because of course he names it Erebus.
What else would you name it?
I don't know.
If you're Hypnos.
I don't know. Elysium? I don't know. And then she's like, okay, look, you can't have your friend take the inheritance test again. Like, is he going to want to? And Hypnos is like, I don't know. He's grieving. I don't know, man.
He's a wreck right now, dude. No one knows what he wants.
Yeah. So he's like, I don't know, maybe. And she's like, well, okay, you can't let him do that because we didn't falsify the results of his last test. Like, he's just not the heir of House Vanth. And Hypnos, I still don't see why Hypnos can't tell and be like, look, you're not the heir of House Vanth, but like...
I think that's because it would lead to too many other questions. They're like, let's just hope Severon drops all this. And...
So that's why I think there's something up with his parents.
Yeah, I think he's totally the Fallen House heir, too. Yeah. Which I guess we would have to get more than on his parents. Mm-hmm. So you think maybe they're not really dead and they just escaped into wherever those other people came from?
I love that trope, but maybe, I don't know, I'm still kind of thinking they're dead. But
do we see the fire? I can't remember.
I don't know. We're just told they died in the fire, which does sound kind of skeptical.
Was there a body? You know how this went in some other books.
Yeah, don't believe they're dead until you see the body, and sometimes not even then.
Not even then.
But anyway, and we know the Fallen House's ring still exists because we see it. The Doctor has it. Doctors are big bad. Our big bad, yes.
Yeah, because we don't really know much about the Doctor. I don't even know what the pale mask is.
He speaks with uninflected, unaccented voice, which in the audiobook read as American.
Why not?
So
the pale mask, I always thought Phantom of the Opera. I don't know why, but I just see this like Phantom of the Opera mask. Like, so you have the mouth part, but the mask part, I don't know why.
So I wonder if it's a skull,
right?
Or I don't even know. Or
I don't know either. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
We'll get more in book 2 on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so like, because then the Fallen House, if it has the skull thing, like the other houses have like underworld imagery. So like Nyx is a moon, and Nyx is goddess of night. Kor is an aspect of Persephone, and they have the vines, and the matriarch decorates her house like the underworld. Vanth, okay, this one's a deep dive. I actually had to like go look at this one like very deeply because I knew I'd heard the word before, and I couldn't remember where. But Vanths are a part of Etruscan mythology, so like pre-Romans in the same area. And it's like a psychopomp, and it kind of looks like an angel. But they like carry...
Oh, I do have a theory. Okay.
And Severon gets the wings. He gets the Catholic body horror.
Okay. I totally think this is going to somehow come to angels. I feel like that's what... Because, okay... Before he got the wings at the end, he talked about flying and how he
did talk about flying.
Like he could sprout wings. And then he does because of the horror of what the guy does to him.
Yeah, because
which is the mind.
No, it's the blood.
It's not. It's blood, yeah.
Because he has ichor for whatever reason.
Anyway, so, and then at the end, after that, they talk about wings. He talks about feeling wings again. So I'm like, are we going all out angel in book 2?
Yeah. Well, the Fallen House, like, they just describe it, their logo, their symbol, as a hexagram for the longest time. But we find out it's a Star of David, which I'm like, okay, what does this mean? Like, what is...
Where are we headed with this symbology?
Where are we headed with all this? Yes, where are we going?
We're going to Russia.
We are going to Russia in book 2 for the book.
For the book.
We have to talk about Layla's book.
Yeah. Okay, well, before we talk about Layla's book, do you want to talk about the bees?
Oh,
and what you think?
Because, like, the first time I was reading this, since, like, there were lots of theories. And one of them is that there's a Society of the Bees, which are the Illuminati.
I didn't know that until you said that.
I didn't know either. This was like part of our research and when we were reading this first time. Like, oh my god, what does all this mean?
Right, and I think we should note that the reason bees are brought up is because the first assassin that tries to take out Sofia and Henrique has a bee
like necklace, pendant,
and then our mini bad guy has a bee like pin.
Bruiser Bear.
Yep, has like a pin, and so we're like. The cast feels like bees might be important, but they're not sure why, so they send Henrique to look into this. And and the hexagons is the perfect mathematical thing.
Yep.
Did you notice that the matriarchs had a hexagon? Yeah, I thought that was interesting, because then I'm like, how are you connected to the big bads?
Yeah. So and there's a lot of like Fallen House like forging stuff left over, so I thought it might be some part of that. Like, did the Fallen House fall, or did they like kill it and like steal it? Or like appropriate all its powers or something. I don't know.
I don't either. I think the Illuminati theory is interesting. I'm totally like, I mean, it's totally possible because it's kind of like that time. Like it would make sense. And the cover of the actual book, I don't know. It doesn't quite look like the triangle and the eye, but it's close.
Yeah, it has a and
Which
I,
is,
a
yeah.
Horus eye.
And I know that's the Eiffel Tower and not a pyramid, but it's still reminiscent to me. So I could buy into this Illuminati theory. So you think the house of the Fallen House
could be
are somehow related to the Illuminati, or maybe they are the founders of it?
I don't know. I just it's related maybe. But the Fallen House, like, we haven't said what they're trying to do, and this kind of explains like why Bruiser Bear has ichor. They're trying to make themselves into gods.
Yeah, so he's bleeding weird gold blood now.
Yeah, and he's like sick, and they're like, you don't look good. And I'm like, he looks jaundiced the whole time because his blood's yellow.
Well, you shouldn't wear a mustard suit and expect you to not look jaundiced, but
like, that was also a fashion choice, not a good one, but
yeah, he was not good, and their magic is frightening. Yeah, and they're trying to like purify the bloods on top of it. And it's just all frightening.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they kind of opened up a passageway. Did you get where that was from? Like, where did the doctor come out of?
Oh, I thought he came through the Tesseract door.
He did, but was that in the building where the party was? Or was he somewhere else? Because it kind of... I don't know. Because the way these people all started pouring in, I was like, where were they all hiding?
They were in the exposition because Bruiser Bear wanted the handoff to take place there, because then there's an audience and the Fallen House was going to rise again very publicly.
But they had some Fallen House members there, so they were all at the party. How did they remember they were Fallen House members?
They'd been indoctrinated into it or whatever. However, you just tell people.
You were a member. You
or
can't
they went into hiding and they didn't.
I thought they went into hiding. Yeah, because I mean there is that kind of like theory. Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, and then they like, the handoff wasn't going the way they thought it would. So then they all come into the catacombs.
All these skeletons.
Yeah, see, he could have been wearing a skull, a pale.
I mean, I think the skull is totally possible.
Anyway, so yeah, the Fallen House is trying to make gods, because what else do you do with too much power?
Right, as they try to unleash whatever is in the catacombs.
Yeah,
which we still don't know what that was.
Are they trying to make gods in like a polytheistic sense of gods or in a monotheistic sense of gods? Like, I have so many questions about this book.
I mean, on the plus side, the sequel comes out in September, which is not that far away now.
I know.
Maybe we'll get some answers. Do you have theories?
Besides what I've already said.
Any others?
I don't think the doctor is a medical doctor.
Oh no.
Because there's like a bunch of Latin in the book, which is also fun. But it's from a verb meaning like to teach. So I was like, what's he teaching them? Or like, what does this have to do with anything?
Mm-hmm. The name. Yeah. And did the mini bad guy, I can't remember, was he killed in the end? No, he comes back again, doesn't he? Like, he didn't die in the catacombs. He comes back into something.
Yeah, he gets arrested by the Order, and then he escapes. And then he takes the knife hat.
Yeah, the knife hat.
And goes to the Palais. Where, like,
oh, right. And so we see him there.
Like,
at the cabaret.
Yeah, crew have gathered to watch Layla's performance. It's all supposed to be happy.
Cabaret dancer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, like, Severon gets this note from the matriarch of House Core, and it's marked as urgent, and he's like, whatever, she marks everything as urgent. I'm not going to read it.
Right.
And then he's, like, fidgeting with it at the Palais because he doesn't want to look at Layla because he has a crush.
Because he's in love with Layla.
And then he reads it, and it's like, don't leave your hotel, don't leave Leyden.
Mm-hmm.
Bruiser Bear escaped. He's dangerous.
This is how poor Tristan...
And then, like, literally that next moment, Bruiser Bear shows up and, like, he says, that's not how it works, boy. And Severon thinks he's talking to him. So Severon thinks Bruiser Bear's gonna kill Layla. But then Bruiser Bear kills Tristan. See, this is why I think Tristan was the heir of the Fallen House. To, like, cover it up. But then I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Like, this is too big of a reveal, so is it Severon?
I think it has to be him.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about Tristan being the House Vanth heir. That makes sense. And that makes sense, but I wonder why they were trying to hide all that. What is the matriarch really trying to hide here? And how entwined do we think she really is? I feel like she knows a lot more about the Fallen House than she's letting on.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Right. Okay. Do we want to talk about Layla?
We need to talk about Layla.
I love Layla, but we already know that. Okay, do you want to tell her backstory, or?
I've talked a lot. You should tell her.
Okay. So, Layla's backstory was that she was taken to, like, an Indian shaman priest, and she was stillborn, so they basically forged her out of other parts of other passed away children and created a real live baby, which then grew up. But they told her she was going to expire after 19 years. And she has this seam down the back.
On her spine.
That looks like a scar, but it looks to her like where they stitched her all together. Mm-hmm. And so she's afraid she's going to be unmade at 19.
Yeah.
And just like kind of unfold.
She's 18 right now. Her and Severon are 18.
And so she's looking for this book because the power that created her has gone missing.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows how to do it anymore. So she's just trying to find the book that they used in order to figure out A, what's going to happen to her at 19, and B, I think really what that makes her. Because not only is she a forged person, she also has a really cool gift. Can I tell the gift? Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks, Say. So Layla can touch objects and like trace it back in history as to like people and places and feelings.
She can read them.
Yeah. And nobody else knows that except Severon.
Yeah. She can do like what Zachary's mother does in the Starless Sea.
Yeah. I know. I thought that immediately. That was what it was! Oh my gosh.
No, you said City of Brass. You said something and this reminded you of City of Brass.
Yes, the Amit reminded me of City of Brass, which I was going to mention. But the other thing that was bothering me, and I didn't say it out loud, was the Starless Sea, was that. Aside from the bees, which also carried over.
Yeah.
So yeah, Layla's really cool, and I love her, like, I love that she's kind of like, we're going to have a fake relationship because we need to talk about our real feelings at the end of the book. So she's making Severon basically have a pretend relationship with her because she's this great, amazing cabaret dancer. So she does all these fake relationships, and she's our celebrity.
But like Severon's going to this winter conference, whatever, like fantasy conference, and on the invitation it's like, oh, you can bring a mistress, and he's like, what? It's like, this is useless.
She's like, wait, I need to find my book.
And like the crew is going with, and Layla's like, I don't want to hide in a cake. I'm not going to explain that one. She's like, I'm not hiding in a cake. I'm not being a servant. I want like special access. So I want you to take me as your mistress. And it's like, oh my god, you guys kind of hate each other right now. But like,
I don't think she hates him. I think she's just upset that he won't address this.
Well, she's very mad because he said the thing like, you're not even real.
That was rude.
Oh yeah, he
needs to apologize.
He makes so many dumb decisions at the end of this book. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, but I think her feelings are hurt, but I don't think she hates him still. And I think that's why she's like, let's have a fake relationship. We need to address this.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my god.
Well, and I also don't blame her in the sense that I'm tired of always being the servant. Just because I look like one in your guys' world and caste system does not mean that's what I should be. Mm-hmm. So I kind of was like, go girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, she kind of like cons him into it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's just like, okay.
And I think it's interesting that nobody else knows about Layla's gift except him. So he uses that all the time, basically to his advantage. I mean, she offers it. It's not like it's a weird...
Yeah, it's not a weird thing.
Power
She's
relationship.
Like, I want to help. Mm-hmm. I can help. Let me help.
But she can't read any forged magic.
She can't read forged magic, and she can't read people.
Right, but she doesn't know about the dead. I feel like necromancy is going to come up in the second book as well.
I would be thrilled for necromancy to come up in the second book. Because that came up
toward, like, they kind of commented a few things at the end of the book about that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, there's been a lot of crossover themes in this book from things that we've been reading lately. Yeah, anything else on Layla? Other than she's also an amazing baker.
She is an amazing baker.
And the kitchen scenes were fabulous. You were right. They were just warm and cozy and fun.
And she's like, she's very warm as a person, and
she's very much their mother.
Yeah, she's like it's like her and Severon are like team mom and team dad. Yeah, totally. She makes sure they all eat when they need to because they don't always remember. No, they don't.
Right. Make sure. I love that she lays out the dresses for Sofia and leaves the notes like, if you want to do this, if you want this, if you need comfort.
They're really
I think that's
sweet.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. They all have great relationships. Yeah, I love the dynamics. She really made great characters, and no one feels like a stock character in any way. Or phoned in any way. They're all really interesting.
I can't wait to read more of them in September.
It's not that far. It's only like 2.5-ish months.
Okay, but the release date was January or February. I'm pretty sure January. But then it got pushed back, and I'm like, oh man.
That did happen.
Like, I understand that it happens, but now I'm waiting.
But look at it this way. She wanted to make sure it was perfect when the second book came out. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's okay when authors do that.
I know. I understand. I'm just... I have
You're
questions.
just upset and sad.
I have questions and I need answers.
Which I'm not sure I'll totally get in the second book.
Well, give me more evidence and I can make theories off of.
Okay. Okay. Might be a couple of years, though, before you really are happy. Do we have any last thoughts on this book? Other than it was fabulous and everyone should read it, and we're sorry we spoiled most of it.
It was my staff pick for a while. I'd put it as a staff pick again.
Yes. I put it as a staff pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you were right in saying that if you need something that was, you know, really like Six of Crow-esque, this is the best one so far. I think you're right. If you needed a filler.
I love being validated.
Well, there you go. All right. So aside from that, what are we reading next week?
We're reading The Children of Blood and Bone, which I'm rereading for the second time.
I like that. Twice in a row, you're reading it twice.
Well, it's been a year, and I realized I'm like, I don't remember much of the middle. So, yeah, we're reading Children of Blood and Bone by Tony Adeyemi, and I'm excited.
I also am excited. It's going to be a totally different magical world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell anything else about it, or do we just want to make them wait till next week?
It's kind of inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender, so if you've been watching that like I have, yeah.
I think you've told me that before.
And it was really good. I really liked it when I read it. I got to the end and I'm like, oh my god, it can't just end right there. But it does.
That's okay, the second book's out.
I know it is now. But it's really fun. It's fast. There's a very, like, sweet, like, her older brother is along for most of the quest, so, like, their dynamic is really sweet.
So some sibling things.
Yeah, and we get, like,
it's in
royalty characters and, like, not royal characters. So
I say it's kind of another one of those sort of, like, court intrigues, but kind of not. I mean, it's definitely a, like, isn't it kind of a who gets to rule and who gets to allow magic story?
Yep. Like, who has power, and
yes.
Yep, it interrogates a lot of that. Yeah.
We're on a roll.
And there's, like, gods involved, not created gods, like actual gods.
Good clarification. I like it. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really good. I really liked it the first time I read it, so.
We'll see what you think round two.
Yeah, I think I'll just be very excited again.
Right? So anyway, you should definitely check in next Friday night as we talk about that.
Do we have copies if people wanted to read it before we spoiled it?
Do you have copies if you want to, hear about it and read it before we spoil it? Because we do spoil a lot. Mm-hmm. So you can always give us a call at Mostly Books and we can get one to you curbside. Yeah. Or you can order it on our website and we can mail it out to you or whatever. Just give us a call.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all next week.
Yep.
All right. Bye.